I was known for robbing drug dealers. It was my MO. So it was my MO to get drug dealers to advance me drugs, large amounts of drugs. I got raided. Okay, you got raided. Where's the charges? Well, they didn't charge me yet. So I get a call from my girlfriend. She's hysterical. She's like, "What'd you do? What'd you do? What'd I do? What'd I do?" Now, the guy who ratted me out, the dude who ratted on me, was in the car with me, bro. It was her brother.
Today changes my whole entire life.
Welcome to Gritability, a podcast about the power of perseverance, overcoming seemingly insurmountable odds to attain the life of your dreams. I'm your podcast host, Adam Clausen, and with me in the studio, as always, is the beautiful and ever radiant Ro Clausen.
Hello, I'm excited to be back. We were just saying it felt like a very fast week, but I'm really excited because we're about to go on another wild ride.
Yes, and unusual for us, we are back for round 2. We are taking it for a second time around the block with our guest joining us again this week. Gunner is back here. We left off last week. He took us all the way around the world. Alan Gunner Lindbloom. Lindbloom. And man, we were on a wild ride and we didn't want to cut it short. So we said, listen, let's come back here, because we didn't even get to the love story, man. There's a love story here. And I'm excited to hopefully pick up kind of where we left off last week. So if you didn't catch the last episode, you better go back and watch that. Buckle up. You're in for another exciting ride. Gunner, happy to have you back, brother. How you doing?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Happy to be back. I'm glad we're at the best part of my story. I've told so many over the years. I told the war stories and the crime and the violence and the gangster stuff, prison, on and on. We're going to talk about some of that too. But the best part of my story is the love story, or is the story with my wife, and this is the story that's making waves right now in my life. And in hindsight, it's like, I'm a novelist now. I've written 10 novels, and anyone who's read one of my novels, they all have kind of powerful to very powerful love stories in them. Not that I'm a romance writer, not like that, but
it sure sounds like it.
Well, I think I'm a writing coach too.
Okay.
And I own a publishing company, and I think every great story, if you look back, has a love story in it.
Yes.
I mean, people compare my my books to The Godfather, for example. So where's the love story in The Godfather? Well, I think there's two things quickly that I'll say. The love story is very similar in the regard. Okay, there's a much more powerful love story in my book between a man and woman, but the most powerful love story in the book is between the main character and his grandfather, who's an aging mafia don, right? So, but also if you look into it, Mike Corleone had a love with whatever her name is, his wife. Sorry, his wife. But in the end, the episode or volume 3 or Godfather 3, which was his daughter and Garcia, the actor Garcia, whatever his name is, that love story. So there's always a love story. It's very important. So when I write, I try to, and every great story, whether it's a book or a movie or whatever, has a great love story. So the stories that have a great love story, you will remember them for years or maybe ever. The stories that don't, you'll forget them right away. So I make sure to incorporate, a powerful love story in every one of my books. And so when people hear my love story, I hear it all the time. They're like, dude, this reads like fiction. This reads like it's like one of your novels or something, but it's not. And you have one too. I just interviewed a guy a couple of days ago because I have a new show on my radio station that I own. Actually, I'm a co-owner of it, called Conviction Radio. And one of the shows that I host on the station is called Against All Odds. And it's like you were saying, is remarkable comeback stories or perseverance stories, things like that. And you have one of those yourself. So I'm definitely want to interview you. One of the guys I just interviewed was a guy very much like me in his past life, was kind of a gangster and a drug dealer. He robbed drug dealers. He did a lot of the same stuff that I did. He actually started his own gang. I didn't do that. But he had his own gang and he mirrored it off the mafia and had his own bylaws and his own his own rules. And then he ends up getting busted and going to prison. for 20 years. And in prison, he was doing the same thing. Before he went to prison, he robbed this chick. This is crazy. He robbed this chick. He had this chick bring some drug dealers over to buy drugs, and then he sent soldiers in there to rob them all. And of course, she hated him after that. He ends up going to jail. She gets found. She finds Christ, visits him in prison, says, you need to change your life. In prison, he's in there fighting and stabbing and selling drugs, and same old thing he was doing. He's got 20 years. And then she tells him, I forgive you. You need to, chase Jesus, yada, yada, yada. It hits his heart. He does. He ends up getting a compassionate pardon. And they end up letting him out after 5 years because he turned his whole life around.
Wow.
Gets out, marries this chick, has 5 kids with her, starts a church in Atlanta. So it's a really, really remarkable story. Those are the type of stories that we love,
Yes.
Love story, no pun intended. But I know where I left off was, I think I was telling you about how before I went to prison, my last run was because I had all these, nobody wanted to deal with me because I got busted. My house got raided, and everybody kind of got the heads up because one of the guys that sold weed for me lived across the street from me. Excuse me. My nose is dripping. And so he knew my house got raided. But the problem is the cops, here's how dirty and foul the cops are, or probably still are, but were for sure at the time. They wanted me to rat, right? And so they kept egging me along, like cooperate, with them. And I kept saying, you have no case, so I don't know why we're even having this discussion. The evidence you have is not going to hold up in court or trial. It's a waste of your time. And they were like, oh, well, maybe not. Well, we're waiting for the lab results to come back. This is 2 kilos of heroin. So this is not like a little thing. This is
Whoa.
a couple $100,000 worth of heroin. And so they didn't charge me, but everybody knows I got raided. So people are like looking into the courts and going online and going, how much was his bond? And what was he charged with? Well, there's no bond and there's no charges. So they're all going, well, he must have flipped. So now everybody that I normally deal with, drug dealers, mob guys, whatever. In fact, the biggest drug dealer I had was a mob guy who was a cousin of mine and a good friend of mine who I'd known for years, for like 10 years, like we've been boys. We got into all kinds of dirt and trouble and did stuff together. It was his dope that I got busted with. So now he's actually terrified to even talk to me. So I end up just to like appease him and make him see that I'm not trying to, like, it wasn't a scam. Because in my mind, I thought because dude, bro, listen, I was known for robbing drug dealers. It was my MO. So it was my MO to get drug dealers to advance me drugs, large amounts of drugs. And then I would just say, F you, I'm keeping it. What are you going to do? And I'm saying, like, you can't whoop my ass. So that's out of the question. You're going to try and kill me? Well, good luck with that, because I'm ready. I got a gun all the time, and I'm always looking over my shoulder. But if the guy don't get me, and I'd tell him, and I'd rob him and say, if you send somebody to get me, you better pray they get me, because if they don't, I'm going to come and kill your kids, man. That's how I'm cut. I tell him, this dude, right through as I'm robbing him, I will come back and kill your kids. And I didn't mean it. I didn't mean I was going to. I would never have done it. But I just wanted to think I would, because I was that crazy and desperate. So they would just, leave me alone. But I would have never done it. But so when I did lose this dope, and there's no charges, I'm assuming that he assumed that I was just robbing him. You know what I'm saying? Like a soft robbery. Like, oh, man, I got busted. I got raided. Okay, you got raided. Where's the charges? Well, they didn't charge me yet. So they got 2 kilos of heroin out of your house, and they didn't charge you, huh? Really? And I'm like, I'm telling you, bro. That's what I got this affidavit thing, but I never showed it to anybody. It showed what they seized: a gun, the drugs, some stereo equipment and crap that was in the house. No idea why they took that.
They left you at home?
I wasn't home when they raided it. So I get a call from my girlfriend. She's hysterical. She's like, what'd you do? What'd you do? What'd I do? Now, the guy who ratted me out, the dude who ratted on me, was in the car with me, bro. It was her brother. And I had just slapped him around a couple days earlier. Yeah, because he said something slick to me, so I slapped him around. And he said, oh, paybacks are a bitch. And a couple days later, I kind of felt bad about slapping him around. So I took him out to eat. I said, you want to go
on the same day that they raided you?
Oh, that sucks.
No, I slapped him around, and then a couple days later, I'm taking him out to eat because I felt bad. And my girl calls me and goes, what the hell did you do? I'm like, what? Like the neighbor just called and said there's freaking a SWAT team in the house. And I'm like, what the F? And now I know I got this heroin in there, plus 30 pounds of weed in the garage, and $38,000 in cash in the closet, right? And I'm just like, I'm doomed because all that heroin I still owe the money for. 38 grand is all the money I have. That's the lawyer money. The weed, I'm figuring they're gonna get the weed in the garage. So the dude who ratted on me is in the car with me, and he don't like you just playing it off like he don't know. And so basically, I see they leave an affidavit on the table or whatever. I'm calling it that. I don't even know if that's the right terminology. It was a form that said we have been here. Comet Narcotics Task Force has been here. We breached the home. This is what we found and what we took. And it was a list of everything, including the dope, some pills, the steroids, some Vicodins. So, like the steroids and Vicodins, I forgot I even had. They were in a medicine cabinet in the mudroom, and a pistol, and some pictures. They took my like big old stereo system I had, an old Corvette I had in the driveway that was in my name. Anyways, so I'm looking at this, and so it says, please contact us, So I contact them. I'm freaking out. I'm looking out the window. I'm waiting for them to come. I'm like, oh, I'm so screwed. Now, by the way, I didn't go back to the house for a couple of days. So when I find out this happens, I go get my homeboy, right? A dude I don't really even trust. I don't trust anybody at this point because I don't know who ratted on me, right?
Sure.
I know who did. So I go to this dude like I don't even know that well. I said, bro, I need a favor. This is crazy. I said, I'm going to go to the street behind my house, right? I need you to walk through the backyard of the house behind my house, jump the fence, go through my bedroom window, climb through it, which is not easy because it was a slider window, not a hung window. I said, go into the linen closet. Underneath these towels, I got a bunch of cash. Put it in if it's there, which I doubt, I said, put it in a pillowcase and bring it out to me. Now I'm thinking 50-50. If it was me and I'm the dude, I'm going to go in there, find the money, because I told them what happened. My house got raided. I'm going to find the money. I'm going to put it in the bag. I'm going to go back outside, hide the bag of money behind the garage, come back to me and go, yo, bro, there was nothing in there, man. I didn't find nothing. Then actually, after he takes me back, I would have got my car, drove back, jumped the fence, grabbed the money, kept it for myself. That's what I would have done. Of course, I'm a scumbag. The dude comes out with a pillowcase full of cash. He goes, yo, it was there. Could not believe it. They didn't. How did they not find that money, bro? I mean, 38 grand in like small bills, 20s and 50s. I mean, it's a freaking pile of money. No, they didn't find it. Somehow it was just sitting under towel. Anyway, so that was bond money I had saved up, but they don't arrest me and they don't charge me, but everybody knows I got raided, so everybody's freaking out. So I end up, nobody will talk to me anymore. The guys that I'm normally dealing with, that I'm selling drugs with and getting advancements with, but again, the guy who I owed for the heroin, he thinks I'm robbing him. Everybody's just telling him, yo, this is just Al being Al. They call me Al. They're like, hey, this is Al being Al. It's what he does. I mean, are you surprised? You know what I'm saying? And the crazy part was, this is the first time the dude had ever fronted me that much dope. In the past, he'd give me like a quarter kilo, and I would get a quarter kilo, but then I'd have to call him in a couple of days and go, I need another quarter kilo. I finally said, bro, listen, just give me a couple keys, and then I don't have to bother you for a month. You know what I'm saying? I'll just bring you money and re-up. He's like, okay, fine. 2 days later, the house gets raided, his dope's gone. He's like, oh, he did what he did to everybody. All these drug dealers, bro. I had an army of freaking drug dealers in the east side of Detroit who wanted to kill me. They just didn't have the balls to try. I mean, I'd see these motherfuckers in the gym, bro. Big steroided out, huge muscle bound motherfuckers. And they got, I mean, way bigger than me. I was a big boy too. But way big. But they all knew who I was because they'd see me knock guys out in the nightclubs and see me just beasting guys. I wasn't scared of them big muscle bound motherfuckers. And they knew that because they see me break jaws of those guys in the nightclubs and stuff. So they were just like, I got like these big drug dealers like, yeah, I got burned for $20,000-$30,000 from Al. But okay, I got burned. What are you gonna do? You gotta kill the guy? It's cost me $30,000 to kill him. And then if I get busted for the contract murder, I go to prison for it ain't worth it. So they just they'd see me in the gym and like nod, like, what's up, Al? Like I just robbed them last year for $30,000. So anyways, to save face with the guy, his name was Angelo. He's my cousin through my great grandmother's side. Or my grandmother's side, but her mother's side. I robbed another dope dealer of 200 pounds. This black dude who I actually liked. His name was Bebe. He was a nice guy, and I was the one who convinced him to get in the weed game instead of the heroin game because he used to be a heroin dealer. And I told him, bro, get out of the heroin game. It's too volatile. It's too dangerous. And if you get busted, you get way too much time. You're cooked. Get in the weed game because he had the plug on some really good Canadian weed. Like he had the connect on some really high-end weed, really good stuff. And I'm like, bro, you got the plug on the weed, bro. You're the weed. You're like, yeah. So he says, yeah. And I talk him into getting in the weed game. And I would buy 5 or 10 pounds, but his weed was high end, and not everybody wanted to pay $1,700 a pound. Most people want to pay $1,250. So once in a while, if I had a high end guy, go get a few pounds from him. Then all of a sudden, I'm like, dude, I need 200 pounds. And he's like, he was nervous as hell, bro. Suspect. He thought it was, even he was suspect, but he didn't want to do it. But I convinced him to do it. He meets me at the mall. We both got trucks. He had a Jeep truck. He's got a, we got a big
200-pound deal at the mall.
At the mall. Well, dude, listen, in blind sight, you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is you do it in open and blind, people will never suspect that you're going to do a 200-pound weed deal at the mall by the bus stop. They don't know what the hell we're doing. We're just two dudes like pulling a freaking crate out of the back of a truck, muffling it into the other truck. They don't. Cops could pull buck, probably help you. You know what I mean? You guys need a hand? Yeah, we do. You know what I mean? So that's how I did it. I said, listen, I'll be back. The guy only lives a couple miles away, man. As soon as I count the cash, I'll be right back. You can wait at the crib, or he said, go wait at my house. So wait. And I actually felt bad for it because he didn't know my real name, but he was eventually able to learn my real name and where I live. But by then I was in prison, and he actually tracked down my girl and was looking for me because I was in jail at the time fighting my cases. And she said he came to the house asking for you. He wasn't like being a jerk off, like I'm going to kill you. Or you owe me money. He said, where's else? Like, he's in jail. I was like, yeah, when he's getting out. I said, ain't gonna be for a long time, man. Long freaking time. They indicted him for 17 capital crimes. He's going away for a long time. So the guy just ate the thing. Anyway, so I took the 180 pounds of that and I gave it to my cousin and said, we even on the, because he didn't even want to do it. He's like, no, it's good. I mean, I'm like, bro, take the freaking weed, man. You know what I'm saying? Just take it. I don't want to be you thinking, run around thinking I stole it or robbed you, man. Take the freaking weed. I got it from Melandon. It's a term the Italians use. I said, the muscadad. I said, I got it from a muscadad. Don't worry. We're good. So he takes it, whatever. Anyways, moral of the story. I might as well tell you what ends up happening. I go on this crime spree. So anyways, I do get charged 9 months later.
We are getting to a love story here somewhere, right? Like,
yeah. So this is going to lead to it. So let me just tell you what happened. Yeah, I had another love story kind of before I went to prison. I was with a girl for 13 years, and she was a good girl. I was engaged to marry her. We just bought our second house. She's a really good girl. She was a virgin when I started dating her. We were both virgins. But anyways, so I did get charged 9 months later with this charge. Got a big shot lawyer, paid him $10,000. Just to, like, if I had to go to trial, it would have been 30 more. He got it pleaded down to 9.5 years. Well, no. On that charge, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. On that charge, he got the drugs dismissed except the analogs. So basically, the heroin was thrown out. The gun was thrown out, and I pled guilty to analogs. I got 6 months probation. I walked out of there like, ha, 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 in the face of these narcotic cops. Ha, 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 ha. Well, it didn't matter because 6 months later, I was indicted on all these charges. But so I went towards the end, I was on probation and stuff, and I needed to make money. So I was running around like a lunatic in the neighborhood on the east side, robbing banks, robbing drug dealers, robbing pimps. Had strippers in the strip clubs who would tell me if guys came in there with a bunch of money, then I'd follow them and rob them, or I'd have the girls bring them to like a restaurant after the club closed, and then me and my cousin would bust in with shotguns and rob them and get their jewelry and their money. And that's the crazy, insane stuff I was doing. So nobody wanted to be around me anyways. And then I get indicted, 17 capital crimes. They tossed me away, extortion, bank robbery, armed robbery, and I'm gone, right? The day that it happened, I was putting on a shirt and tie, and I was getting ready to leave the house. I put a pistol in my waist. My girl said, it's bill day. And I'm like, how much do I owe? Because we split the bills. She said, it's tax time, so it's $2,200 between us, or $2,200 each. And I look at my note. I got $700. At the time, I was using drugs, so I needed drugs to buy drugs. And nobody would have known I was working out and had a nice house, new car, and all that stuff. So I'm thinking, I got $700. So I give her $700, and I tell her I'm going to go to the bank and get the rest of the money. She said, all right. But she noticed I had my gun in my waist, which I always had, so it was not a big deal. But I do remember her looking at me like, well, the gun. So I go to the bank, and I put a fake bomb on the counter. And then I walk around, get in my car, drive through the drive-thru, put a note through the thing says there's a bomb in the bank, remote detonated. If I don't get $75,000 in the next 90 seconds, the bank goes boom, and everyone in it goes with it. Boom, tick tock, and that's how I wrote it. And dude, 30, 40 seconds later, this thing pops out, and there's an envelope stuffed with money. I throw it in the car, and I take off, and I get away. Think it's all good. I end up they had a tracking device in the thing. I end up getting a high-speed chase, crash in, got out, ran. They catch me, beat me up, take me to jail, end of story, right? They want me to rat on a murder thing. I don't. So I get a $5 million bond for all these cases that I'm fighting. Here's where it gets good. Here's where the good part goes. I'm getting to the love story now. So I'm in the county jail, facing life, or not life, but they all carried life. They charged 0 to life. So, and they want to the prosecutor's trying to give me 30 years, and so my lawyer, I didn't have any money for a lawyer, really. A couple thousand bucks. Like I had some stolen watches that I cashed in and got a lawyer, but that wasn't that much. So I got a crappy lawyer, and so they're trying to give you 30 years. So I come back from court one day for a bond here, another charge, and they give me a new bond, $1 million bond. I get into it with the officer, who the officer's like wrenching my shoulder. I'm being walked like this, and he's wrenching on my shoulder. Man, Justice Light, man, my eyes are there. That's a little better. Is that too light? Too dark? Good.
Yeah, too dark.
It's too dark. All right, I can lighten it up. I get shots in my eyes, so like my eyes are.
We saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, definitely wanted to talk about that. But we're still, we're in the car. We're along for the ride. Man, we've been to the bank, high-speed chase, county jail.
Cops nudging.
So I get jumped, right yep. by the cops in the county jail, because they're wrenching my shoulder as I'm going back to the hole. I'm already in the hole for knocking this guy's eye in, crushing his eyesight. He stole from me when I was in the county jail a pie out of when I was in the church. He stole a pie out of my box. So I came back and I smashed the dude. I found out who it was and crushed his eye in. This little black kid, not little, he's kind of stocky but short. And I smashed him. And I go to the hole for 30 days. And I'm going back to my cell. I've only been in jail like 3 weeks at this point. And so they're walking me back to the hole. I'm in the hole, and they're like, I got this. There's 5 cops around me because that was a high profile case. And I had like shackles and stuff. So they never let me put me in my own like cell. They'd always have, with the other guys, I had my own cell all the time. So they're walking me back, and the guy's yanking my shoulder. I said, yo, bro, you're going to rip my shoulder out the socket, man. It's not necessary, man. Chill out. And he said, shut up, inmate. Stop talking. No talking. And I said, oh, I see what your problem is. You got a little dick, huh? And the guys laughed. The other guys laughed, but he thinks it's not funny. So I get in the elevator, and they slam me in the ground and beat my ass real bad. So I get to my cell, and they stomp me out, bro. I'm bleeding all over the place. I'm cuffed the whole time. I'm going, real tough, guys. It takes 5 of you guys. I'm saying it just like this while they're beating my ass. I'm cuffed on the floor, smashed. This huge dude's got his knee on the side of my head, just holding me down. And I'm going, real tough, guys, huh? 5 of you on me while I'm cuffed. Tough, guys. You gonna go home and tell your girl how tough you had one to go today? You gonna tell you I was cuffed and it was 5 of you pussy ass motherfuckers? So then they got me back to my cell. They took a 5-gallon mop bucket of water, took my pictures and my letters from my grandparents, throw them on my bunk, dumped the bucket across my bunk. It was cold down there. It was middle of winter. And then they put me in the cell. I back against the cell. They uncuffed me. And then I turned around and said, come get me. I said, come get me now, you punk-ass mother-effers. They don't do nothing. They're just cowardly mother-effers. So I'm sitting there, and I'm contemplating suicide, bro. I'm just like, this ain't the life, man. I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life. Like, I'm just 30 freaking years, bro. It ain't worth it, man. I'll just check out. I'm not afraid to die. I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I could get into crazy stories, man. I've been in crazy. It's insane stories. And I don't remember ever being scared to die. Yes, I was scared, but I wasn't scared of the act of dying. It's like, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. So I'll check out. I slip my wrist in the shower. Game over. I'm sorry for my family, my girl, whatever. And all of a sudden, I see a letter, one of those letters on my bunk that are kind of soaked through. And it was from my grandmother. And I picked it up. And I remember in it, she said, you write the most beautiful letters. You could be a writer. And I'm thinking, and then at that moment, dude, it something clicked in my mind. I don't know what it was. It was a very divine moment, very spiritual, not sure what. Blood dripping off my head on the floor. I'm out of breath still from them stomping me out. And I just felt peace come over me. and I felt my purpose, and I knew what God wanted me to do. So I was at that point. I was like, okay, He wants me to be a writer. That's what I'll do. I had a good imagination, and I kind of knew I had a good imagination because I was able to make up lies to my girlfriend so good. You know what I'm saying? That's how I knew. Like my girlfriend could catch me in a lie, like cheating. You know, I was like, you so and so saw you last night with some girl or driving with some girl. Like, what? No way. I was over here doing this with this guy and that guy. We just came from there, and he saw, and his girlfriend was doing this and that. You can go ahead and ask him that. That'd be this elaborate BS lie. And it'd be so elaborate that my girl was like, there's no way that wasn't true. Like, he had to be. So I know your girl's like, what a scumbag. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, honey. I'm not. Listen,
she knows. I used to be a scumbag too. So.
Yeah. Okay. I feel better then. Thanks. So good,
I was
good,
right there. I was right there with you.
Yeah, good. So thanks. So she understands. You understand. I'm changed. I'm very faithful. I love my wife, and so I'll get into how I met her in a minute. But back then, I was just freaking a scumbag. And so by the grace of God, that girl, no matter what I did, she stayed with me. You know what I'm saying? Just no matter what I did, like I would get caught cheating at least 5 times a year, which is insane. You know what I'm saying? But it didn't matter. Maybe not that many, 3 times, but whatever. It was constant since age 16 to 29. Think about it. But she was convinced. Yeah, she was convinced at some point I would change and become the man I am today, which is the sad part. She never got the man that she knew I could be, which is the man I am today. I hope she's happy. I don't know where she is. I have no idea. And I hope she's happy. I spoke to her once after I got out of prison, and that's it. But anyway, so I start writing in my cell, in my mind, because I don't have pen and paper in the hole. I mean, you do have, they give you those little rubber pens, even in the hole, yes?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, those little rubber hole pens, you can't really do much with them. You could write a little bit, but I didn't. What I did was read, and then I'd sit there, and I began to write stories in my mind. Very elaborate, very detailed stories. And over 14 months in the hole, by the way, they classified me extreme high violence, so I would never leave the hole. So I never left solitary confinement. I was as long as I was in that jail. If I went back to that jail 20 years later today, if I walked in there right now, they'd put me right back in the hole, and I'd never come out until I left the jail. That's how that was. Which sucks, but then I didn't really care because I hated the floor anyways. And so I just did push-ups and worked out, and I put money in the porter's account so they'd bring me food, a commissary. I had it good in it. So So over the next 14 months, I write 3 novels in my mind, which I know to you probably sounds impossible. To the average person, it would. To me, it wasn't. I could wrote 3 complete novels, and these are like 800-page novels in my mind. And obviously, it was just a montage of images in my mind, not the actual dialogue and all the stuff. So I get to jail. Like, they finally sentenced me 13 to 50 years. For extortion, bank robbery, armed robbery. They dismissed a bunch of stuff, a plea agreement. I won't even get into how they totally screwed me out of 3.5 years. I was only supposed to get 9.5 years, but they railroaded me on a plea agreement, raped me out of 3.5 years, and then basically, take that. Like, I had nothing I could do. They just hit me like Biggie. So off I went to prison. As soon as I got to prison, this is where the story really begins, honestly. So there was a dude, I got to take a flashback a little bit. There was a dude, who I call him a cousin because he is a cousin through marriage distantly. He was my boy. He was an Italian dude from East Detroit. Nice guy, big body, kind of quiet, soft-spoken, not a tough guy at all. Not even really a ladies' man, but he was real handsome, kind of short though. And about a couple of years before I went to prison, I robbed him of 10 pounds of weed.
Is there anyone in Detroit that you did not rob?
Yeah, there was a lot of guys I didn't rob. Yeah,
I was going to say, they must have a poster of you in Detroit, man.
I know, right? So I didn't rob guys that I liked or I was scared of. That's it. So, and when I mean scared of, like, guys I knew might retaliate, like try to kill me or pay someone to kill me. No, I wasn't worried about fighting. Well, when the issue, I wasn't scared of nobody on that route. I'd probably give anybody a run or whoop their ass. But the guys who had money, and you robbed them guys, and they're like, no, and they were gangsters. I'll pay a guy 10 grand to take Gunner out. Why not?
Yep.
You don't mess with them. So, or if I liked you, there was guys that I could have robbed easily for tons, bro, easily. And I just said I liked them. They were cool. I'm like, I don't like to rob the guy. I like him. Anyway, so this dude, I liked him too, but I was in a desperate situation using drugs, whatever.
Yeah.
This is like 5 years before I got locked up, because I used drugs on and off over like a 10-year period, maybe for a couple of months, and I was clean for 4 or 5 years, and maybe for a couple of months and clean for 2 or 3 years. So that kind of a drug. And I was needing money, so I have him bring me 10 pounds. I'll say I'll pay you in a couple of days. I get rid of it. And I spin him for a couple of weeks. He finally comes over, so you're not going to pay me? I'm like, yeah, I'll get it when I get it. So, he stops talking to me, right? Fast forward, years go by, and I get a letter in the mail while just get to prison, and it's this dude, and he says, yo, I was driving down I was reading the Detroit newspaper, because he moved to Chicago, and he did an intervention in his own life. His family got him out of the streets. He ended up marrying a church choir girl. He gave his life to Christ, and he said, but I still kept in contact with the city through friends and family. Plus, I read the Detroit news every day. And I saw an article in the paper about you, how you got all this time in prison and you got all these charges. And I'm like, wow. So like the next day I'm on my way to work and I'm thinking about you, and I start crying. He says, it hits me that you're in this situation. And he's like, that was the only one other time in my life that I felt this way. And that was the moment I gave my life to Christ. I felt this powerful emotion. And now I'm driving to work and I'm crying because I'm thinking about you, which is weird. This big tough guy. He's not a really tough guy, but he looks like one. So he says, I write you a letter. And he said, if there's anything I can do for you, I don't know what I can do to help you, but if there's anything I can do to help you, God has put it on my heart to support you, yada, yada. I'm going somewhere with this, and it's big. So I say, bro, I write him back. I said, thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Sorry about the whole 10 pounds thing. I was in a bad place. If there's one thing I could ask you, could you send me $20 so I can buy some pens and papers? Because I want to start writing books. He says, yes. He sends me the money. He sends me 30. I spend 20 on pens and papers. I buy pen and paper. I crank out my first novel. Takes about a year. And then this is like a 1,000-page handwritten manuscript. I send him the book. He reads it on the subway and waiting back to work. He's blown away. He's like, oh my God, bro, dude, you're like, I cannot believe you wrote. Incredible. Now, it's about these 2 high school football players. The name of the book's called Second Chance. The main character is named Chance Enzo. And it's one of the characters goes to prison. One of the characters goes to the NFL. And it's just crazy. Anyways, he reads it. He's blown away. He's like, wow, you're incredibly talented. So he sticks in my camp. He's sending me pens and paper, money for pens and paper, and he's supporting me. And I write another book. The next book's about a Vietnam War story. And then I write another book. And then I write another book. And then I write another book. I get to the 6th book that I write. I'm 6 years in. I finished my 6th book. It's the Mafia story. It's To Be a King. Those 2 books right there. I send it to him. Again, he's reading these books going, holy, he cannot believe that I'm written these books. And I'm getting better and better and better as a writer. And now, 6 years in, 6 novels in, I'm actually a really good writer. And so he says, dude, I'm going to start a Facebook page for you. I'm going to post sample chapters of your book on Facebook. I don't even know what Facebook is, bro. So I'm like,
what year is this?
Facebook? 2009.
Okay.
I've been in prison 6 years. And Facebook's, I don't know, a year or two old, a couple years old. It's brand new still. And I don't know nothing. And he says, and by the way, this is what the point that I kind of Dear John, my ex, and I told her to go on with her life. Mm-hmm. Because he says, what's wrong with you, bro? And I'm like, he's like, you don't seem yourself. Because I call him about once a month, And he'd say, and then all of a sudden he's like, dude, what's wrong with you, bro? You don't seem yourself. You're usually jocular and funny and witty and cracking and busting balls. You know yourself. I said, I told Ramona to go on with her life. He's like, what? Why? And I'm like, I think she had a boyfriend. I just told her to go on with a different life. I don't wait for him. And he's like, no way. Because I had 20 years invested in this girl, 20 years. And so he's like, damn, dude, well, how about I start a Facebook page for you? Maybe you can connect with some of the old neighborhood girls from the old neighborhoods, people. And that's when I said, what is it? And he said, yeah. So he starts it and he puts sample chapters of my book on there and puts that I'm a Christian, because I was a Christian. I was going to church and stuff. And he said, so what happens is some random chick who I'd never heard of in my life is scrolling through Facebook suggestions and sees my profile and she recognizes my name. And she's like, oh, Al Lindbloom, I remember him from school, although I never went to school. I got expelled when I was 14, so I never went to school with her. But she recognized my name as a bad guy. I was Mafia family, a fighter, drug dealer. I wasn't surprised when I read you were in prison, but I was surprised when I saw that you're a Christian and that you're writing books. Why? Because she's a huge book reader and she worked for a publisher in New York. She worked for a New York publisher at the time. And not to mention, she was this massive book reader, like obsessed with books. And there's a reason for that, too. She was raised in a horrible environment, an abusive Muslim father who would beat and abuse her. She was the oldest of 6 girls. Her father was hated women, hated girls. He kept having daughter after daughter, and she was the oldest one. So she bare the brunt of his brutal, reign. And so all she could do was cook, clean, mop, do the floors, go to school and back. But she couldn't talk on the phone. One time somebody called on the phone. He beat her up so bad she tried to kill herself. So how did she escape? She read books. She read every book in her library at the library 2 times. So she's obsessed with books. And she worked for the bookstore in high school. She worked at the bookstore for money. She had a literary scholarship that her dad wouldn't let her take because he had to stay home and take care of his sister. So now she works for a publisher years later. She ran away, escaped this douchebag who tried to sell her for $100,000 to a random stranger, bro.
Wow.
Like her dad tried to sell her for $100,000 to some doctor. And she ran away. And that's when she met a dude who introduced her to Jesus. She became a Christian, got a job working for a friend. And then all of a sudden she sees my profile. And so she says, hey, listen, I see you're a Christian and you're a writer. I work for a publisher in New York. I'm a Christian, new Christian. Would you like to do a Bible study? And by the way, if your book's any good, maybe I can help you get it published. And I'm like, hell yeah. So I'm like, this is amazing. I don't know who this girl is. I have no idea. I've never heard of her. She said, you wouldn't have heard of me. I was a nerd. Never went out and about, never went to parties or school games and nothing like that. You would have never, but then she was super cute though. That's the crazy part. Like, how did I not know this girl? She was a hottie though, bro. Like a total hottie. These bright blue eyes, super cute. I'm like, dude, she was right up my alley. If I would have seen her, I would have been like, yo, but I never saw her. I don't know how I never saw her. We went to the same middle school, bro. That's the crazy stuff. Listen, when I was in 8th grade, she was in 7th grade. I failed 8th grade, went back to 8th grade a second time, and she was in my class, my 8th grade class, bro. We only had like 100 people in my class, 100 8th graders in my class, in my school. And somehow I never ran into her. I got pictures of all her and all my friends. There's pictures of me and her, all her friends. But me and her never met. It was like God designed us not to meet.
Thank God you two didn't meet back then, because you might have effed it up and you wouldn't have her today.
Dude, I would have blown it, bro. I would have blown it.
I say the same thing here.
Yeah, I would have blown. I would have broke her heart. Who knows? I would have been. She didn't deserve what I would have done at the time. So anyway, that wasn't the plan that got ahead. So she writes me. This is where it really starts getting interesting. Says, I'd be interested in reading your book. So I tell my friend Joe, the dude who set up the Facebook, I'm like, bro, can you turn my book into a PDF and send it to this random girl? It actually was my other friend named Eli, come think of it, who was my boy I don't talk to anymore because he had like a mental breakdown. And he wouldn't send it to her at first because he's like, she's going to scam it, bro. Because his mother-in-law had read it, bro. And his mother-in-law was a big reader. He said, would you read this book and tell me what you think? She comes back and says, your boy's going to be famous because of this book, bro. Your boy's going to... He's like, what? He's like, yeah. So he tells me, my mother-in-law read this book. She's a huge reader. And she's like, she told me, you're going to be famous because of this book. Now, when I tell him to send the book to this random chick who works for a publisher in New York, he's like, dude, I'm not doing it. She's going to steal it. She's going to publish it and steal it. I go, shut up, bro. Send her the freaking book. Relax. And he wouldn't do it at first. And even when he finally did, he kept 10 chapters out in the middle, 10 chapters. And she writes me a letter. She's like, I'm reading it. I'm loving it. But there's 10 chapters missing. I got to get on the phone and go, hey, bro, send her the rest of the freaking book, bro. I'm telling you, I'm advising you, shut up and send it. Click. And he did. And she reads the book in 3 days, is blown away. She writes me another letter, calls me a unicorn. She says, you're a publishing unicorn. And she explains what that is. So she says, this is the best book that I've ever read, which is entirely true. She said, your book's in the top 3 best books I've ever read in my life. And I've read thousands of books. I've been obsessed with books since I was 4 years old. Now, 6 months later, she comes out and admits me in a letter. When I told you your top 3 best books I've read, I lied. It was the best book I ever read, but I didn't want to blow up your head or have you thinking that I'm blowing up your head or lying just to make you feel good. Honestly, it was the best book I ever read, but I just didn't want you to think. So she comes out and admits it. So now she says, I'm going to help you get this book published. And we start to realize that if we try to publish the book while I'm in prison, the prison system could potentially take the profits.
Yep.
So I can't. So we're both like, what do we do? She's like, well, we just wait until you get out, then we'll publish it, and then you can say F them and keep all your money. Great. So what are we going to do in the meantime? We'll be friends and we'll pen pal. So we start writing each other, get to know each other. Before you know it, we get to know each other more and more, and we realize we have everything in common. We love all the same things. We love the outdoors, and we just love up north. And there's a whole story how she fell in love with the wilderness. because she was in the city in Detroit all her life, never got to go anywhere because of her dad. But then the one boyfriend she did have when after she ran away had a cabin up north in the wilderness. And when she got up there for the first time out in the woods, like walking in the woods, she was like, "Oh my God, this is like so it's like I'm living in a fairy tale." And he'd be like, "What's the big deal? Like it's out in the woods." And to her, it was like from one of the books she read, like the fairy tale setting, like a fantasy world, being out in the woods. And I love the wilderness. I'm a huge trout fisherman. I'm a hunter. I love camping. So we both were like, yeah, we have this obsession. And plus, we love animals like pets, cats, and dogs. And anyways, we fell in love. Me and the woman fell in love through letters, many, many hundreds and hundreds of pages of letters. She's a writer too. She's authored 3 books, and she's a very incredibly talented writer. And when you take your time and like get to know somebody through letters, through writing, it's much
So
different
different.
than yeah. Did you do it too?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so that's cool. So you did the same thing.
Yeah, and we always say when you remove that physical piece of a relationship and you just have that to rely on, you can get so deep and so close. And I want to say fast, but like you said, it was years upon years upon years. And I think that's what makes our type of relationship last the test of time and all of the tests in between.
Well, I think it makes things a lot more intimate. That's for sure. And the other thing is, here's the thing. I'm a radio host, and you hear me talking fast, telling a story. I'm pretty good at talking, so obviously, and being a radio host and all. But I'm not nearly as articulate as when I'm speaking the spoken word as I am when I can slow down and pause and think about what I want to say, especially if I'm really trying to impress somebody like my girl at the time. I wasn't trying to. That's the thing. I never set out with any romantic intentions. Let me make this clear. I was that, and to be perfectly honest, she's the first girl that I never tried to. Oh, well, she's the first girl I never bullshitted, bro. I never. She's the first girl I was this me. I'm like, here, I got 7 years left in prison. I'm a freaking loser. This is me. I got nothing to offer you. I'm just an absolute bum loser in prison. I got nothing. I mean, I can offer you a letter and I can be a friend. Even then, I'm like, I'm still a freaking loser. So what do I got to lose from being myself? So I'm like, I'll just be myself. So I'm writing her, but I was very, very smart. That's the thing. So my wife, just to give you an idea how smart my wife is, like if she went on, they wouldn't even let her on Jeopardy because she'd win every show. That's the type of person she is. One of those freaks, that's her. So I'm sure they do like a psychological test before they put people on Jeopardy. And if there's like one of those savant freaks, they're like, well, there's no point in putting you on. You're going to win everything. That's the type of girl she is. So now I'm sitting there writing back and forth with one of those. So look at this. This is my prison Google. This is the actual dictionary that I had in prison that I stole from the unit. I stole it from.
It was your unit dictionary?
It's a unit dictionary, bro. And look at I marketed red over where it said 900 unit here. If you look it says 900 unit on there.
Yeah.
But this thing's so dog-eared and tattered, and I spent my whole life in this thing. Yeah. I spent 10 years in this thing, and when I got a couple years, 3 years in, and 10 years of my life just in this constantly. And then when you're doing that, it's an encyclopedic dictionary. So there's actually some pictures in there, and so you discover, like you're reading along, and there's a picture, right? And all of a sudden you're like, well, what's that? So you start reading about it, and then that mentions something else, and you go, well, what does that mean? So you flip to that, and you start reading about that. Before you know it, you're 4 hours in, you've read, you learned about Antarctica and all get crazy stuff. So I've learned all this stuff, and then plus all I watched in prison was Discovery, History, Nat Geo. That's it. Now I didn't watch BET and like goofy ass MTV. That's all I watched is educational stuff. So my mind, all my life, by the way, I've been
nerd TV.
I was the nerd.
That's what we used to call it, nerd TV. I was like, I'm going to watch some nerd TV right now. I'm on nerd time, man.
So yeah, we're on the same page.
Yeah,
that's it. If I wasn't in my dictionary or writing my books, I was nerd TV, man. That's it, So, and she was the same way. So we had this like connection that way. And then, here's where the crossover happens. We're still men. When you're again, I'm a writer. So being a writer, professional writer, and even at that point, I guess I could consider myself a professional writer. I wrote 6 novels, and I was very articulate and witty with my verbiage. But there comes a time when you're writing, you get to a sentence and you say something and there's a pun there, or the opportunity for a witty euphemism or innuendo of some kind. And even though you're not trying to be romantic with her or flirty, it's funny. So you're like, I'll slip that in there a little bit, right? So you slip in this little witty innuendo. It's cute. Boom. You write the letter back. She slips one in. I write a letter back. I slip two in. I went one back. She slips one in. It's a little more. And then the next thing you know, it's a little more. Then one day I get a letter from her. She goes, I don't know what to make of this, but I had a sexual dream about you last night.
It's all that slipping in and out both ways.
Yes,
I mean, that's
exactly.
Of course.
So that's where I think once she told me she had this dream, that was kind of the turning point where I was just like, oh no, this is happening. And so a couple more times we went back and forth, flirting a little bit. And then I said this is great. You got to listen. You got to love this. I said, I was thinking about it, man. I'm like, dude, I don't want to ruin this chick's life, man. She's a 6-figure sales executive for a New York publisher. She's single. She's 33 years old. She's beautiful. You know, she got her whole life ahead of her. I don't want to ruin her freaking life. Like, what kind of scumbag would do that? You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that freaking guy. So I write her a letter, and I was, an open book, no pun intended. And we've been writing for about 6-7 months. And now at this point, we're writing every day, pretty much, like every day. I actually put my 7th novel on hold and didn't stop writing just so I write her all day. I wrote her probably 10 pages a day. And she did the same thing.
Wow.
She's like, her job's like, she had the type of job she could like work 2 hours and she's making $100,000 a year. And so I said, listen, I don't think we should continue this type of, rhetoric, this, innuendos and flirting. It's just not right. I mean, you're a successful professional. I'm a loser and I'm in prison. I got 6.5 years left. I don't want to ruin your life. It's not right. I feel bad about it. And she's like, yeah, I agree. She wrote back, yes, I agree. We should be, be professional and platonic and blah, 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 blah. But yet we're both writers. So like in the very next letter, I get to like a spot where like, oh, dude, that's a great spot for like a funny ass innuendo right there, or a good one, or like a hot one or whatever. I slip it in there and she slips one back. And after like another month, I get a letter from her. She's like, think you know this already and where I'm going with this, but pretty sure you already know that I'm in love with you. So how do you feel about that? I'm like, yeah, I pretty much in the same boat. So what do we do? She's like, I don't know. What do we do? Now we haven't spoke to each other at all. I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is really happening. And I'm like, well, I'm the kind of guy that's like, listen, if you can't be faithful, then I don't bother. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want you, if I'm in love with you, yes. But if you're going to be out there banging some dude while you're waiting for me to come home, forget it. You know what I'm saying? Just go on with your life. You know, I said, can you be faithful? And she says, yes, without a doubt, 100%. I know how to please myself, and I'm 100% comfortable with that. I'd wait 20 years. That's their exact responses. I think you're worth it. I'd wait 20 years for you and be faithful. I said, in that case, well, then.
At that point, how much time did you have left? 6.5 years.
Okay. Yeah. I hope that didn't make you feel any kind of way. Hopefully,
it's a long time.
I don't know how long. Yeah. It was a long time. Yeah. So I said, my next letter, I said, well, if that's the case, then I would ask you to marry me then. Would you marry me?
Because you never met in person?
We'd never met or even spoken. Never spoken a word.
Wow.
Okay.
So, and she says, I'd be honored to marry you. And so I said, but I don't want to get married in prison. I don't, because you can get married in prison in the visiting room, and it's a cornball marriage, and about the chaplain in there. I'm like,
no, we're with you on that one.
Yeah, so I'm gonna wait till I get home. So at one point, we start talking about we love writing each other. We love writing each other so much that we're not in any hurry to get on the phone and talk, because we both are better articulate better through written word. So we're just like, we just keep writing. Calls are expensive. It's more fun to write. We love writing. It's our passion.
Were you afraid it was going to ruin it?
I was, maybe a little bit, perfectly honest. I actually suggested that we wait till the day I get out to talk on the phone.
Did you?
Yeah. No, because I told my boy, I had a cat that I loved very much that was with my ex-girlfriend before I went to prison. This cat named Puffer, which I really adored. I'm a cat guy. I mean, I got 5 cats, and so this cat was a special cat, and I really cared. So I told my boy, I'm on the phone with my boy, right, Fat George. And I said, listen, call my girl. I'm going to hang up, call my ex and see if she still got my cat. Because if she does, I want you to go get it and then bring it to my new girl. You know what I'm saying? I know it's not, I wasn't trying to be a douchebag, but I just like, go get my cat. Now, keep in mind, I've been locked up 7 years or whatever at this point. So the cat, she's been 7 years without me. And I only had the cat for like a year and a half before I went to prison. So no, the girl who had it that time pretty much says, what are you talking about? It's my cat. But anyway, this is what happened. So I tell him to call her and see if she still got the cat. And because this is after I Dear John'd her. I Dear John'd her on the phone. I said, go on through life. She starts crying. I hung up and that's it. Never talked to her again. So he says, all right, I'll call her, whatever. So I said, I'll call you back in 5 minutes, see what she says. So when I call back in 5 minutes, he's got the girl on three-way. I'm like, yo, did you talk to her? And I hear her go, hey, what do you mean giving you the cat? She's my cat. I've had her for 7 years now. And I'm like, she's on the phone. And I'm like, oh, God, here we go. And she starts going, oh, you don't talk to me? You don't want to talk to me? You don't write me? You don't nothing? I'm like, yeah, I hope your life is good. What do you want? How's the cat? She's like, I'm not giving you the cat. This is my cat now. I'm like, anyways, I was nice and cordial and whatever. And I said, this guy you're dating, I hope he's good, because if he's not good to you, I can send guys. Trust me. And I did send guys, and they went in there and freaked her out. So I hang up and I write her a letter. Right, I write Maria a letter, my new girl, a letter, and say that I spoke to my ex. And she flips out, starts crying, and I can see the letter. She's crying in the letter. Yeah. And, by the way, I wanted to tell you, I forgot to tell you, when I said we have to. This is where we said before, I don't want to ruin your life. We need to draw a line, a painted line, and not cross it. That was my exact words in the letter. We need to draw a line, a painted line, and not cross it. And of course, we walked right up, tippy-toed up to it, stuck a toe over, and whatever. Anyways, the documentary that is being made on me is called The Painted Line. That is the reason why.
I love that.
So, but anyway, back to the whole thing. When she found out I talked to my ex, she's all crying in her letter, crying. She's all upset and literally crying. Actually, I think my boy, actually, she called my boy, and she was in tears, crying like, I can't believe he could talk to her, but he hasn't talked to me. So at that point, I told him, my boy, tell her to load up the phone. I'll call her tomorrow. And we got on the phone. We started talking, and then we talked. And then she came to visit me shortly after, which is a crazy experience because I was in a really violent, dangerous prison called Kinross high-level prison. And I have a picture. It's famous to me. It's the only picture I have of her where I still have hair. Actually, I used to be a good-looking guy and had nice hair. I looked like Jersey Shore, like Hollywood as hell. You would never believe that was me. And so it's the last picture I've ever had with hair. And then, anyways, she comes in that day, and when she comes to visit me, two remarkable things happen. I don't know if you're Christians or you believe in. I don't know if you believe in God or whatever. But the night that she went to visit me, she had to drive 4 or 5 hours and to stay in a hotel. That night before she was going to bed, there was a demon in her room. And I believe that was the reason, like something demonic and growling and like this monstrous is in the room with her. And when the instant she shouted out, Jesus, save me, it instantly vanished. And it was terrifying to her naturally. But I believe it's because that devil feared her and I together and was not going to be happy about what we're doing. Like right now, we have a Christian radio station we just started. The second thing that was crazy is I'm super flipping nervous, man. Yeah. So she's coming I know she's coming. They call me out. Lindbloom, you got to visit. So my bunkies and all like looking at me, yo, she's coming to see you finally. They know who she is. They're like trying to watch through the window. They could see right into the visiting room. They're trying to watch this whole event happen from the unit. Like this from the window, I got all these guys watching from the unit, looking into the VR, watch this whole thing. It's funny because I haven't talked to her. Like I've been with her for about a year now, and I've never seen her in real life. And so, anyways, I'm sitting in this hot summer day, super hot, like 95 degrees in this visiting room, and I'm facing like where they come in the sally port. And I start hyperventilating, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to pass out. This is what's happening here. I'm literally going to pass out, and the cops are going to peel me off the floor in a minute. And what an asshole! I'm going to look like such a like pussy. And so I'm just like, I'm starting to, I can't breathe. I'm sweating, and heart's pounding. Right before we pass out, I happen to look over, and there's a fan, one of those oscillating like fan, and it was sitting right there, and I grab it. I reach over and I grab it, stuck it right next to me. I like the fan on my face, and it instantly kind of calmed me down, and I relaxed. And then all of a sudden I see her come through the Sally part, and I'm all excited, and the door opens, and she comes charging into my arms, and I give her a kiss, and then of course the cops are banging on the guy, well, break it up, and so fast forward, she waits six more years.
Listen, brother, and I know we're fast forwarding, man. You've taken us on a ride, and we only got part of this love story because I know that we're not going to get to all of the happy ending just because we are running out of time. And I know that there's a documentary and the books, and I want to make sure that you get a chance to promote all of that, because everybody who's tuned in and been along for this ride, you're going to have to tune into the documentary to get the rest of the love story and all of the other craziness that has gone along with this for this ride that we've been on.
How much time do you got? I will tell a part of. There's a lot more of my books, the apparel, and radio station.
We've got like 3 minutes left.
Just to be quick, the day that I got out, this is the day that I got out. My boys picked me up. They take me to breakfast. They drive me up north to see my girl. She's cooking a feast for us. She got us a house out in the middle of the wilderness, the way I wanted. All I wanted to do is live in the wilderness, away from people, quiet. So I go forwarding and fishing and do the things that I love and dreamed about doing in prison. So she knows where it's coming. She doesn't know exactly when we're arriving, right? I tell my boys want to film me having the first moments with my girl. I said, no, drop me off down the road, and I'm going to sneak up to the woods, and then give me 10 minutes alone with her, and then you guys can come back and video or do whatever you want to do. So they said, okay, they respect that. They let me out, and this is in the middle of the wilderness. So I get out, and I come cutting through the woods, bro. And just a few hours ago, it was a 5-hour ride to come from prison and plus breakfast. But just a few hours ago, I was in a prison cell for 13.3 years. I've been in a prison cell. And I get out. Yeah, there's a lot I want to say. Anyways, I end up sneaking up to the woods. And as I'm in the woods, it hits me that I'm free. And, dude, I've never felt like a moment like that in my life, and probably never will. But the birds were chirping. It was a hot, sunny day. I could hear the birds, and the sun was coming down on my face. I'm in the woods, and I look through the woods, and about 50 yards away, and I see this angel. She's in a blue dress. She's sitting on the deck. She's just sitting there by herself, patiently waiting for me to come home. Oh, and I know, right? And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. And I sneak right up to her, and she don't even know, because she got some music playing in the house. She got the music down low, and so she don't even hear me come sneaking up. I walk right up to the railing of the deck. I'm literally like a foot behind her. I go, what's up, Birdie? And that's what I call her, Birdie. She's my Birdie. I go, what's up, Birdie? She flips. She's like, oh my God. She starts crying, screaming and crying. And I hug her, and my boys come showing up. We're still hugging and crying. And then the next day, I go to this little tiny town in the middle of nowhere into the courtroom and take my vows with her. And my boys are all crying. Yeah. And one of the boys, by the way, is the dude who remember when I told you earlier in the story how he was driving and he was crying and God said, put it on his heart to support me and be there for me. Yeah. That was the dude who started the Facebook page, who brought me to her. That was the dude who was a witness in my marriage. Man. And that dude baptized me 20 minutes after my wedding. He baptized me in Lake Huron, and so see how it all fits together.
Oh my God,
it's crazy.
That's the best place to end this episode. That's so perfect.
That was the ideal way to wrap things up. Alan Gunner Lindbloom. Man, listen, we're going to throw all your socials up here, and we're going to encourage everybody, please go check out everything that he's doing, the books, the documentary, the amazing life that he's living, the life of his dreams, living proof that you can have everything that you want, man. The power of perseverance. We love you guys. It's been another amazing episode of Gritability. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll see you back here on the next episode.